Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being with us as we talk with you tonight about adopting in 2026. My name is Kim King. I'm here with Heather Featherston, and this webinar is for hopeful adoptive parents who are researching adoption and discerning which next steps to take, such as what agency they would like to partner with. And we hope that tonight's webinar will be a great resource for you as you discern your path ahead. And this webinar is from Lifetime Adoption. We are a licensed child placing agency in the state of Florida, assisting families and birth mothers all across the country since 1986. We are now celebrating 40 years of Lifetime Adoption. If you are brand new to getting to know us here at Lifetime, please feel free to reach out to us by phone, text, or email. The phone number here is lifetimeadoption.com, or the website, obviously, lifetimeadoption.com, and the phone number is 727-493-0933. You can peruse our website, get to know us. We have a lot of information for you on many different platforms, such as social media, our Instagram. You can find us at Lifetime Adoption, our YouTube page, where we post all of our past webinars, our Q&A sessions. Um, so there are so many resources. We really want to help educate adoptive parents and give you that comfort and confidence in knowing as much as possible about what to expect. And if we partner with you, then you can know that we are here to guide you through each step of the way. If you're tuning in, joining in, clicking in, and you are already working with Lifetime, kudos to you for getting extra credit tonight, but you also have your two exclusive webinars that are, you get those invites via email. So now if you are exploring adoption, it is never too early to fill out Lifetime's free application. You can see the QR code there and it'll take you right to the application. You can go to the application at lifetimeadoption.com/apply. Normally we provide a response within a day to up to a few days. So you will hear from us and have correspondence with us within that first day and the following day to let you know exactly where things are with your application process. And again, you can always request information and send me your questions. My email is kim@lifetimeadoption.com, or give us a call to speak with a coordinator. And if you're already working with Lifetime, of course, you have your coordinator that you can message with and schedule calls with as well. So Heather, thank you for being with me tonight as we discuss all of the Q&A and more about Lifetime.
I'm happy to be here, Kim, and I just want to reiterate something you said because I'm so happy to see we have so many people here tonight. If you are a Lifetime family, we're happy you're here. A lot of this information you probably already know because we love to hold these informational webinars as an opportunity to really speak with and answer questions of a lot of people who may reach out to Lifetime to learn more. It gives us the opportunity to have that kind of live quick fire Q&A and also to share about Lifetime's program kind of in a one-on-many format. It also is always beneficial to hear what other people are asking because chances are, if you are brave enough to ask your question, whether it's in the registration or in the questions box here in our platform, probably somebody else has that same question too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think, Kim, probably the best place to start is to jump in and start sharing a little bit about Lifetime, especially for families who are hoping to adopt or at least hoping to start their adoption in 2026. And one of the things about Lifetime is that we do specialize in infant adoptions.
That's right. Here at Lifetime, we work with what is called private adoption. This means that we are not partnered with the foster system, CPS, child welfare, or social services. So the babies that are adopted by families here at Lifetime, their birth mothers are reaching out for these services, and that changes everything. So here at Lifetime, it is primarily infant adoption. Over 92% of the adoptions we complete our newborn babies, either matched during pregnancy or perhaps on the day of the birth. And I know, Heather, over the past week, we've had 6 adoptions.
Mhm.
How many were sudden and how many were matched in advance? I
3
think.
were sudden and 3 were matched in advance.
That's right. So, we're getting new intakes with birth moms on a daily basis, and that is what our primary niche is. That is our expertise, supporting women who are considering adoption, never making assumptions or judgments about her just because she's calling and asking, but we want to inform, educate, and empower her to know what adoption is like, modern adoption in 2026. We want to help birth moms understand that so that they too understand that there is a clear difference between their baby going into the foster system and what we do here at Lifetime Adoption, which is permanent placement with voluntary relinquishments.
Mhm. Mhm, absolutely. And one of the things that was important to our founder, Marty Caldwell, when she started Lifetime 40 years ago, was that we really focus on safe and successful adoptions. And that's both safe for the expectant parents, the birth mothers we work with, and safe for adoptive parents. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of the way we do things at Lifetime is built on Marty's own experience and the type of adoption professional she wished she had when she was adopting.
Yes, she started Lifetime, 40 years ago when she was hoping to become a mom, and she had several pregnancy losses and was trying everything that, she was back there in the 80s, mid 80s. Okay, she started Lifetime in 1986, but she had quite a path that she went through, and she really felt the Lord leading her to adoption in the end as the way that she would become a mom. And that's exactly what happened. She started a support group in her home, and people started coming to her and getting support from each other, getting tips. There weren't a lot of resources out there as far as modern books on adoption of that time. And so the support group really was where families could come together and spur each other on and share what was working. And she actually was helping families match with birth moms even before she herself successfully adopted.
Mhm,
But she was able to successfully adopt, and based on her experience, that led her to start Lifetime and really create Lifetime in a very unique way that still to this day, 40 years later, we are following and sticking to those core values. So here at Lifetime, you have a lot of stability, you have a lot of education, you have clear steps. You have communication, timely responses. And for so many families, Heather, I know just yesterday, a family was like, talking with you as soon as she applied with Lifetime and heard back from us and actually had some correspondence going within just a day or two, she said it was like a breath of fresh air. And I know many of you listening are probably going to feel the same way. It is such a breath of fresh air to feel supported and valued in your pursuit and have someone partnering with you that actually wants you to be successful and feels that realistically they can help you. And that goes back to our application and our unique approach. We want you to fill out Lifetime's free application, not just because, it's the very first step in actively engaging with us, but because it allows us to really get in there and help you. We can help you identify what your needs and values are in adoption, and at the same time, let you know our feedback. Do we feel confident we can help you? And that is one of the core values from Marty Caldwell. She only wanted us to help families we feel confident we can help based on their needs. And that's why we take that time to get to know a family and help them establish, for example, their adoption preferences and help them learn what to expect here at Lifetime and what we're all about, where our hearts are for them, and the care we provide to the placing parents. And so she wanted to make sure that families understand that there's a partnership. So that makes Lifetime very unique. We are Christian based, we work across the nation, and that is a rare find in today's world of adoption in 2026.
absolutely. And I think one of the things that we do hear a lot. In fact, that's one of the questions that came in, was about adopting in 12 months. One of the things to understand if you are embarking on adoption this year, is really how the face of adoption has changed. If you haven't learned or read a lot about modern adoption, about open adoption today, the reality is that the expectant mothers, the birth parents, they're the ones who choose the adoptive parents. And so, sometimes we are, finding that families are not learning this before they get to adoption, and then they've made that decision to move forward and grow their family to adoption through adoption, only to have a little bit of a wait, what moment,
Hmm.
because there's kind of an assumption that adoption is like it was 20, 30, 40, even 50 years ago. But modern adoption today really is about moms making the choices for their children, and that includes choosing the adoptive parents and also having the opportunity to continue ongoing contact after the adoption. We talk a lot about that, educating about the benefits of open adoption, because there are benefits not just for the biological family, but also for the child. The child grows up knowing the truth about who they are and where they came from and how they came to be a part of your family. And for adoptive parents, often they think, well, I don't know that there's any benefits for us. There are benefits that, again, you just don't expect. For instance, if your child is diagnosed with something like leukemia or some type of organ failure, you know where to go get biological family for bone marrow or a potential transplant. That can be a life and death connection. uh, it also can really help your child, especially as they get a little older, maybe even into adolescence, to be able to ask a birth parent some of those hard questions that you simply don't have the answers to. Why was I placed for adoption? You know, is it because they didn't want me? Those are questions that you can answer and reassure your child, but there is great value, and we have the studies and are happy to share that show the benefits of open adoption. So sometimes coming into adoption, especially in 2026, it's just good to know that you need to kind of be aware modern adoption is not like closed adoption of the past. It's
Hmm.
a lot different today. And really, I think, when I talk to families, Kim, and they want to put time frames on things. We want to adopt this year. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Are there things you can do to help that? You bet, absolutely. And the number one thing families can do to help is to get started. Many years ago, I talked to a family. They were actually friends of ours, and they were acquaintances really at the time, and they let me know they'd been trying to adopt for many, many years, and they wanted to know if maybe I could give them some advice. So I sat down and I asked, what is it you've been trying to do? You said you've been pursuing adoption for many years. Well, their pursuit of adoption was they were Catholic, contacting the priests in the parishes up and down their state. And and while, kudos for effort, that's not really on a path to adoption. It's that's Can adoptions come together that way? Well, yes,
It's kind of
but
old fashioned.
it's very old
Adoption
fashioned.
used to happen that way a lot, actually,
Right. But
decades ago.
nowadays, especially with liability issues,
Mhm.
probably those priests, if they don't know you, they're not going to tell anybody about you. So again, it's just good to bounce ideas, to know what your path is, and also, again, if your goal is to adopt, to get started. And get started on a real path, and it may not be through lifetime, but whatever is your family's chosen path to adoption, learn about the paths, make a decision, and get started. That's really the first step anyone needs to do if they want to start the adoption process um, for this year. So um, really, Kim and I love doing these 30-minute webinars. Usually it's a quick fire Q&A. So if you are here with us live, please feel free to find the questions box and you can type in any questions you want and we will do our best to answer. And Kim, we have some questions that have been coming in while we were talking, so I'm just going to start right there.
Okay.
What are some of the best ways to finance adoption?
Yes. So funding adoption, you are most likely going to use two or three streams for funding your adoption. And what I mean by that is there are many ways to build your adoption fund, such as through employer adoption benefits, actual financial support that your employer may offer in your employee benefits package, where they give you actual dollars to help with your adoption services on top of course giving you leave once you're adopting,
Hmm.
maternity paternity adoption leave, and allowing your child to be put on your insurance. On top of that, adoption employer adoption benefits can be 10,000, 20, 30,000, or open-ended depending on what you need. So it's important to send an email out or have a conversation with your HR person at work, or explore that section of your benefits package to find out how that works and what amount you can expect in financial support from your employer. You can also look at financing. Banks and credit unions finance. It just depends on, what your resources are, such as would you do a home equity line of credit or some other non-secured form of credit, maybe a line of credit. It doesn't necessarily have to be a loan, but it can be a line of credit that you get approved for, and you only start making payments based on the amount that you actually use. So
Hmm.
that's, interesting to consider as part of your funding strategy. And what families often do is they will finance a portion of their adoption fund and then use the federal adoption tax credit to help pay that off in a big way, around $16,000, depending on your tax liability, once they have finalized the adoption. So let's say that you financed 25,000 and you get 16,000 back later, well, then you're only out of pocket paying back 9,000. So
Hmm.
that really, really helps. And it becomes more of an actual option to finance, knowing that you're not going to be stuck paying that off for years and years, but that the tax credit is going to be accessible to you once you have finalized the adoption.
Right.
Contributions from friends and family. There are people in your personal circle that may wish to support you in a financial way. Maybe your aunt, maybe your grandmother, maybe your sister, brother, mom, or dad, or close friends. Maybe your church family wants to do a fundraiser. You can do online crowdfunding. Maybe your church has a board that will understand your story and take a vote and determine if they can put some funds toward your adoption. Many churches, especially nowadays, do have a heart for adoption, so it's not unusual to bring up something like that in your church
Hmm.
family.
Hmm.
So, yes,
I just want to share two of my favorite that you actually didn't mention. One is borrowing from your 401k. A lot of
yes.
families don't know that they can borrow from their 401k and you pay the interest back to yourself. So
Hmm.
so it kind of becomes it doesn't cost anything other than the loan initiation fee, but that's a great way for people who you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's not a taxable event. It's actually a loan from your 401k. And the other way is kind of on that crowdfunding fundraiser idea, but it is having a yard sale or garage sale. And tell people in your life, especially your parents, hey, we're going to do this to raise money for our adoption. Is there anything you guys don't want that we can sell? When you're doing it, put a sign up. We're raising money for our adoption. If you're advertising your sale on, in Facebook groups or any place, note that it is a adoption fundraiser sale. Have a big jar out there that says, donations toward bringing our baby home. People love to help and support, even if they don't know you. It's a reason to come and, you know, they'll help make the the stuff disappear, and sometimes they don't dicker with you quite as much. They'll pay what you're asking because they know it's going to a good cause.
Mhm.
And I know I love this. Alicia said we did a garage sale and the funds came in for our home study from it. Awesome.
Wow,
That's
that's incredible, right?
yes.
So, and
Yes.
that's what I mean by multiple streams. So
Mhm.
you do the garage sale. You get 5,000 from, a couple of relatives. You have 10,000 in employer adoption benefits. That brings you to almost half of what you need, and then finance the rest, use the tax credit to pay it off, the majority of it. And you know what else, Heather, I think families don't realize is that here at Lifetime, we actually provide our families with the option to be enrolled in our finance coaching services that we provide to our families. It's just one of those extracurricular things that doesn't cost them anything extra,
Mhm.
but they can just say, hey, I'd like to receive finance coaching. And that leads me to one more stream of income for your adoption fund is grants. And the finance coaches, they live and breathe how to fund your adoption, and they have all the inside details on what grants are coming up right now that you should apply for, which grants align with, let's say, lifetime adoption and the way that the fee structure works, and which grants they will get to know you so they know which grants you should spend your time and energy applying for. And when we talked with our finance coach that we work with, she says you shouldn't apply for every grant that you see. Certainly
Right.
not. You should just focus on the ones that meet your needs. And so that's part of what they help you identify. And they really work with you step by step to map out an actual plan and give you actual resources for how to build your adoption fund. And this may take a little bit of time, or you may be starting some of your adoption services while you're continuing to build your adoption fund. But I think the bottom line, Heather, is twofold. One, you're not on your own and expected to figure this out all by yourself. That's super overwhelming. And
Mhm.
two, you don't have to have this all figured out in order to start considering an agency. For example, when families apply with Lifetime, we're able to have conversations like this and we're able to understand what their needs are, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that is going to be a big strength and help whether or not they end up actually partnering with Lifetime. And that could be within the next couple of weeks or maybe later this year that they
Mhm.
are ready, but you're not on your own. So I really want you to understand that and don't let the funding part of adoption intimidate you out of even filling out a free application.
Absolutely. Here is we have a few questions here. Um, this one is, I think we've answered where do I start? I think we covered the application. Um, some of these are this is okay. If we are out of state, are
Yes.
there are there reasons we would travel other than
Hmm.
birth parents?
Okay. So I can't really think of any reason that a family would need to travel other than when they travel when their baby is born, possibly maybe a slim chance they might need to travel back for finalization.
I don't remember the
That's
last time I heard
pretty,
that.
yeah, that's pretty old school nowadays, ever since the pandemic and Zoom and everything. You can virtual, finalize. But let's get back to when you do need to travel for sure. You need to travel to the state of the birth, wherever the child is, wherever the birth mom is. And it is definitely part of the adoption process here at Lifetime. Since we are nationwide, we work to present your profile to birth moms within what you are okay with in your adoption, the child that you know confidently you could say yes to. So that's who we're presenting your profile to, those birth moms that fit within your criteria, and you also meet her criteria. So then she needs to meet her requirements, and then she's like, oh, wow, I'm really interested in this family. So that's when we call you, we let you know all about her. And then once the baby, and I'm skipping forward a few steps, but once the baby is on the way, or maybe it's a scheduled cesarean, or maybe she's getting scheduled to be induced, whatever it is, we're going to let you know here at Lifetime. We're going to be providing you with step by step guidance, even overnight or on the weekends and holidays, because we provide 24/7 24/7 support for birth moms and matched families when you're traveling for your adoption. So you are probably going to get on a plane and travel to wherever in the country that is. And these days
Mhm.
travel is not, it's not a big challenge for most families. So you
Mhm.
hop on a flight, you get there, you rent a car, you head straight to the hospital in most cases. But again, we're going to be guiding you through everything. And we will share with you Birth Mom's hospital plan that we work to help her create, that the hospital also has, how she wants things to go in adoption. And of course, we're not talking much about this, but there is flexibility needed in case she has a hospital plan for her adoption that maybe her preference changes. Maybe at first she said, I feel like I'm too shy to meet the family. Just, take the baby to them, that night after I give birth. And then suddenly she's like, I can't do this unless I meet them. Right? So
Mhm.
there's flexibility there, but it's good to know kind of, at the outset that there is a hospital plan that we're all going to be following according to her wishes. So that's another layer of the empowerment that a birth mom has and the support that she has here
Mhm.
at Lifetime. So
Mhm.
yes, travel to the birth parent's state, and you have to have clearance before the baby can travel back across state lines, and that usually takes 7 to 10 business days. That is all a normal part of interstate adoption. Interstate adoption is when you are in one state, but your baby is born in another state. And these are the adoptions we do all the
Every
time.
day.
How many?
Mhm.
I think almost all of our adoptions, those six, were out of state, right? For families and birth moms?
Yes, I believe they were. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the norm here at Lifetime. So
Right.
if you hear that it's so complicated, so expensive to adopt interstate, it's really, really not. Let us help you understand that and just know
Right.
that's our norm. And we refer you to the right legal services depending on what state the birth
Right.
mom is in.
Right. So here's another question. What is the matching process with Lifetime? And I, one of the things we do talk about, we ask some on our application, and then we ask more when we're doing our phone conference with you, is we review your preferences. What are you open to saying yes to? Because at Lifetime, how we present families as options to birth parents to choose from is we present families that already match from their stated preferences the criteria that fits the child that she's having
Mhm.
for race, age, exposure to any substances. We also take what the birth mother has told us she's looking for.
Mhm.
Sometimes they say, I want a family with no kids, or I want a family with kids. Sometimes they say, I want a stay at home mom, or I want, parents who are both professionals. They can ask for any number of things. Sometimes they don't ask for anything. Sometimes they might say, I want a Catholic family. I want, it really just varies. So we take your preferences and her preferences, and from that, we're able to generate a list of families to present to her as options. We encourage moms to choose three choices, their top three, and then she has the opportunity to talk to one or more. And we help you. You'll never get a call out of the blue from a birth parent who is going through Lifetime. We will call you, let you know everything we know about her, and schedule a call. We're happy to be on that call if you'd like, or if she would like, and just to talk a little bit, get to know each other, see if this is a good fit. If it is, then you are considered matched. But that's kind of how the process goes. No longer are there lists where you're number 27 on a list waiting for your number to come up. It really is in the hands of the birth parents to choose the family that they want for their child, her
Mhm.
child.
Mhm. And what we're sharing with you today, these answers are based on Lifetime's model and approach.
Mhm.
And we are very unique, and we will share with you everything that we know about birth mom. And that is actually pretty rare in adoption agencies. Their MO usually is more like, hey, I'm in a big rush. I'm just going to tell you what I think you need to know right now to get you to your next step.
Mhm.
And here at Lifetime, we know how much adoptive parents value having all the information because It's not just for this moment, but this is information you are going to treasure for a lifetime as you continue forward in parenting this child who comes from this story of adoption and this birth mother who did an intake with Lifetime and chose a family, made a hospital plan, met you and placed your baby in your arms. And so we want you to know everything that we know, and we
Right.
want to continue having that
Yeah.
great communication and step-by-step
Right.
guidance.
We got
So
a we
yes,
got a quick follow-up here that I think, we can stay on just a couple more minutes and answer. This is a
yeah.
great question, Brittany. What is the reason that you could be matched within a day of the baby being born? Is that because the birth mother decided after the birth to reach out to Lifetime Adoption, or is it because they just weren't sure who they wanted to match with until after the baby is born? Excellent question. Um, of the uh, of the three sudden adoptions we had last week, um, w- one of them was a call from the hospital. Birth mother did not have an adoption plan in place, and so that simply was she decided to do adoption after the baby was born. Another one was similar. She had the intention of doing adoption before the baby was born, but she had not reached out to Lifetime and made a plan, although she had identified Lifetime as someone she could call. And then the third had reached out, but she never actually took the steps to
Mm,
have an adoption plan in place. So the reality is it can be any number of things. Sometimes a mom starts and doesn't get everything in place. Sometimes she doesn't even start an adoption plan until after birth. It's good to keep in mind that and I know Kim, you and I've done webinars, and maybe that's something we'll do again soon about the women who choose adoption. They're all unique and different, but there are certain traits, and probably one of the most common traits we see is that they are in challenging situations. They don't have the same, let's say, routine. They don't have the same benefits, the same opportunities that most families looking to adopt have. So they may put things off. They may be in denial. It may be a hard decision, and they don't have the courage to even pick up the phone or send us a text until it's time something has to be done. If these women were in perfect and great situations, they would not be choosing adoption. So again, it's just something good to keep in mind. And if you go to Lifetime's YouTube channel, say I know Kim and I have done a webinar all about birth parents. You're welcome to listen to that or just give us a call. I know Kim's always happy to
mhm.
to talk about that. And we have a number of coordinators on our team who would be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely. I will just add in, sometimes women reach out at the last minute because they don't realize the services that are available. They
Right.
didn't realize an agency could help them in advance. And I love when you talk about how sometimes they've already identified that they're working with Lifetime, but just never took the next
Started.
step and
Yeah.
yeah, and then just did it all on the day that they gave birth, which is totally
Hmm.
fine by us, right? And
Hmm.
I don't know of any families that would complain about that. But
Right.
it makes me think back through the years, back when we used to send out printed profiles of families and how a birth mom would sometimes show up at the hospital with the profile of the family she had chosen way back several months ago and say, yep, I have an adoption plan and this is the family, unbeknownst to Lifetime or the family, that she had done the intake, she had been sent the profiles, but had never taken the next step. Probably didn't, maybe she just didn't realize it for
Hmm.
somehow, but showed up with a profile in her hand. And then we were able to call the family and announce that they are ready to become parents and just need to hop on a plane. So there are so many things that happen. You never know who is going to be on the other end of the phone line when our hotline rings. And our hotline is there 24/7 for birth moms, which we really want families to understand how exceptional that is. There are so many things that make Lifetime unique, so many things that we couldn't really pack into just a quick rapid fire Q&A session, but definitely connect with us. You can email me, kim@lifetimeadoption.com. Share with me your first and last name, what state you're in, and if you want to share a little bit about your story, I would love to hear that to see how we can best support you on your path. And give us a call at 727-493-0933. Don't forget, if you haven't already filled out your application, we are one of the few agencies that does not charge a fee just to apply and find out if we can help you. You can fill it out at lifetimeadoption.com/apply or use the QR code on your screen. And thank you again for being with us tonight as we talked all about adoption. We hope that this helps you feel a little more encouraged than 40 minutes ago, and that you have an idea of what your next steps could look like as you embark on adoption in 2026. And thank you, Heather, for being with us as well.
Absolutely.